Welcome to Paper Collage, inspired by improv quilting. I'm Amber Coppings, a visual artist and teaching artist. Thanks so much to the patients, family, volunteers, and workers at Penn State Health Milton Hershey Medical Center for joining me on this creative activity and journey today. We will be using the quilts of G's Bend, as well as quilts from my own studio practice, as inspiration for a series of paper collages. This is a great solo activity if you would like to settle down and relax for a few minutes and invest in your own personal creative process. It can take as little as 10 minutes or up to an hour or an hour and a half. It's dependent on your own personal choices. Feel free to stop and start whenever you would like. Traditionally, quilt making has been a multi-generational and community experience. Feel free to gather materials and anyone that might be nearby or available via Zoom to create paper collages that you can put together at the end into a larger paper quilt. You can also divide the process and have one person cut the paper and another person paste it down. Improv quilting is the playful sister to traditional quilt making. Usually there's one or two rules that an artist will establish for themselves that they will use as a parameter, and the rest of the quilt will be made spontaneously. Usually one of those rules is use what you have. A little known fact is that creativity thrives with limitations. I've established a few easy creative limitations throughout this workshop, but it's important to remember something that one of my teachers told me, which is, these rules are there to inspire you. If they don't, then break them. This workshop has two different options on how to approach paper collage. One, you will be using ripped or torn pieces of paper to create stripes, and the other, you will be using a spiral as inspiration. You can do one or both. Consider limiting your color palette to 3 or 4 different papers. You can pre-tear some strips. Mine were 1/2 inch by 4 inches. However, you can also just rip as you go and use the lengths and widths that you create in the moment. Here is a time-lapse video of me creating my example from start to finish. Note that I turn my background piece of paper so that sometimes my stripes are perpendicular with the first row and other times they are parallel. This creates a whole lot of interest in your paper collage in a very easy way. Here are 2 examples from my own studio practice of improvisational quilts. We'll be using these as inspiration for the next part of our activity. You can see in my examples that I started with a center piece of fabric and then added other fabrics in a spiral around that center, working my way out to the outer edges. We'll be doing something like this with our paper collages next. Start by gluing a short rectangle or square in the center of your background piece of paper. As you go, you will be gluing other shapes and strips like puzzle pieces, placing them in a spiral around the center piece. While you could get out a ruler and make sure that everything measures and matches up perfectly, you can also just wing it. I like to lay down the next piece of paper that I would like to use and match up the edges that I would like to glue down next to each other. I make a mark with a pencil, cut on that mark, and then I can glue down the next piece in the proper place. Here's a time-lapse video of me creating a spiral-inspired improv paper collage. You can see that I broke the rules a little bit, and I really love the results. Now it's time to admire your work. If you made more than one paper collage, then you can glue or tape or pin these to another surface so that you can create a larger paper collage quilt.